Hey guys, hey! Welcome to week 3 of our emergency learning plan. We are halfway to the end. So exciting. This week we're going to be exploring that circle graphs. We've been doing graphs since, oh geez, I don't know, second, third, fourth, fifth grade. So we've had some experience with graphing. Specifically, we're going to be looking at circle graphs, what you guys might have heard before referred to as pie charts. So we're going to talk about how to identify the different parts or pieces of a circle graph. Kind of the main thing we're going to learn today is percent and fraction of a number. And I'll kind of explain that as we go along. So buckle in tight. We're going to do a couple problems together. I'll show you how to use the Desmos calculator to really help you out. And it'll be easy peasy lemon squeezy. So let's dive right in. All right, if we look at this first circle graph right here, the one that's titled vegetables, and then we have kind of our word problem, what we need to solve. It says, if 150 people were asked to choose their favorite vegetable, how many people chose carrots? So, diagram of a circle graph, right? You're always going to have what we call the key, right? Tells you what the colors or different things inside the circle represent. And then this one shows us percentages for each kind of pie piece, right? Or circle graph piece. Carrots is this blue right here. So carrots is 30%. When I go back to the word problem, the most important thing is how many people were surveyed, right? A circle represents 100% of the people surveyed, not always 100 people, right? So a circle graph could represent 20 people or 150 people or 2,000 people or 4,555 people. We don't know. The word problem will tell us. The circle is 100% of the people surveyed. The word problem will tell us how many people. So I know that 30% of 150 people liked carrots. But how many actual people is that? So if I go over to my calculator, there's a super simple way to do this. You can literally type it right in. So you're going to do 30. Come over to right here where this percent sign, you're going to see the percent and then the word of come up on the calculator, and then you just type in your total number of people surveyed. So 30% of 150 people is 45 people like carrots. So that's the answer to our question. So what is percent of a number? Part of the whole, right? We use the Desmos calculator over here with this percent sign to figure out how many people are actually represented in the graph. So that's the first part. But what about if the circle graph shows us fractions? So again, if we looked at, it says favorite vegetable. I changed it to least favorite vegetable. I'm going to relabel my title here. So it says, what about fraction of a number? So here is our word problem. If 60 people were surveyed about their least favorite vegetable, how many people dislike cauliflower the most? Again, most important thing of this question is how many people were surveyed. That circle represents 60 people. So we want to know how many people do not like cauliflower. So that's 1/12. So I got to figure out, well, how many actual people is that, right? So I want to know what's 1/12 of 60. That word of means we multiply, right? So I'm going to really want to know 1/12 times 60, but I don't really want to go back to that unit 2 and unit 3 and 4 where we had to multiply fractions, right? Let's leave that behind us. So in my calculator, now that I have it available for multiplying fractions, I'm going to do 1 divided by 12, that brings up the fraction, times 60 people. And that will tell us that 5 people dislike cauliflower the most. So super simple process. Remember, of means multiplication. So we just take the fraction in our Desmos calculator times the number of people surveyed, right? So there's kind of that most important part. In order to solve a problem, we got to know how many people were surveyed in that scenario. I'm going to kind of steer away from the Desmos calculator just really quickly to do this next problem. Part of this unit, or this kind of, part of understanding circle graphs is comparing circle graphs to other graphs. So if we look at the election results in this kind of problem right here where we have the bar graph, it says the sixth grade class held elections for class president. The graph shows the results on the election. So I know that Rema won, Ishmael was second, and Haley and Juan were about the same. I don't know if they're perfectly the same, but those kind of bars look about the same. It says, which circle graph best represents the same set of data? So I want to know which of these circles would match this bar graph. I could add up how many people voted. Haley and Juan, I'd probably estimate that that's about 50 people each because it's kind of between the 40 and 50. But I can really just use process of elimination to see which one is what we call the most reasonable, right? So maybe I can kind of eliminate the wrong answers to figure out which one is the most reasonable and not have to worry about doing tons and tons of math. First thing is I know Rema won the election, right? She is by far the biggest. So in my circles, I can eliminate the graphs where Rema is not the biggest piece. So I can get rid of C. And B down here, Ishmael and Rema look tied, and they definitely were not tied on the bar graph, so I can eliminate B. So that leaves me A as a possibility, and then D as a possibility. So now I look to my next biggest piece. Ishmael was second place, right? So in A, Ishmael is the next biggest, but in B, Ishmael's little and Haley's kind of big right here. So I can eliminate answer choice D, which means, boom, A has to be my answer because the other three were obviously wrong. Rema's the biggest, Ishmael's next, and for this one, Juan and Haley look about the same size piece, and I think that's the most reasonable. So in comparing graphs, sometimes it's best to figure out which answers are wrong, and then that will lead you kind of to the only possible choice, which would then be the most reasonable answer. Boom. Nailed it. You guys nailed that one. So now we're going to move on to a challenge question. With our challenge question, I'm going to bring back that Desmos calculator because I'm going to need it. With this challenge question, we have multiple parts happening. So let's kind of read it together. It says Kyla spent $15 each week for 10 weeks. The circle graph represents how Kyla spent her money on each of the 5 types of items. So she bought clothes, snacks, music, makeup, books. It says based on this graph, what appears closest to the total amount Kyla spent on books and music over that 10-week period? Well, before I can do anything, I got to figure out how much did Kyla spend in all, right? Main part of a graph is how much is represented in the graph. So I know she spent $15 each week for 10 weeks. So if I go over 15 each week for 10 weeks, which means she did 15, 15, 15, 15, 15, 15, 15, 15, 15, 15. Instead of adding, I'm going to use that repeated addition and do some multiplication. So I'm going to do 15 times 10. So that graph represents $150. My dollar sign is struggling. All right, so now let's look back again. It says based on the graph, which is $150, what appears closest to the total amount that Kyla spent on books and music. So for books, she did 10%, and music, she did 25%. So if I go back, if I want books and music, I'm going to combine or add those two numbers together. So we're talking about 35% of the $150, right? So what's 35% of 150? I don't know, but my calculator does. So I'm going to type in 35% of $150. So $52.50. But wait a minute, none of that says that. So let's go back to the problem. It says what appears closest to, which means I could round. So 52.50 is closest to about $50, right? So C. Boom! Look at that multi-step problem that we just nailed it. We nailed it. Oh man, we're so smart. All right, finally. Oh my gosh, we made it to the end. So exciting. Okay, we made it. What do I do now? Guys, we got to get this is week 3. We got to get this interactive and lesson slide thing going on. So, what do? You're going to finish the lesson slide. So, you watched me. You're going to watch one more video, look over the notes, do the quizzes activity. Boom, slide 1, done. Then you're going to move on to that second slide, which is the interactive slide. Look at that circle graph, answer a couple questions. Boom, done. Move on to the third slide. This is important. Circle the choice that you want to complete on the choice board. So there's a bunch of options. I think there's 6 of them this time. You can still do the quiz that's in Schoology, or you can do one of the other options, right? So circle the choice that you want from the choice board. Then complete the choice. You have to actually do it, right? This is the assessment part of the lesson. Once you've finished your choice, you need to post a shareable link to the choice board, right? Or to that final slide. It has to be shareable with me. So if you don't know how to do it by now, please watch the video in Schoology. Post that shareable link so that I don't have to unsubmit and send it back to you and then email your parent and blah, blah, blah. And it's just such a headache. And I know you feel it too. So post that shareable link. If you decide to do the quiz, just type in your quiz score onto the final slide. And then the very most important thing, turn in your assignment. Don't just do it and then not turn it in. That seems silly because then I have to email your parent on Monday and they're yelling at you, and that's awful. And most importantly, and finally, as we wrap up, know that I just love you tons. I think you're amazing. You're so close to being finished. So just do your best the next couple weeks, finish it out, and then we can all enjoy a relaxing summer, which we all deserve after all this craziness. So if you have any questions, please, 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 please message me. Let me know. I'm more than happy to help you. I can even go onto your Google slide and make notes if you have questions while you're working. So just let me know what you need. I love you. Bye.